support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Trump is a little bit upset at Never Trump Republicans. This Lincoln group who put out this devastating ad playing on the well-known Ronald Reagan ad, Morning in America. Many credit with putting him over the goal line. They have a different morning in America. Watch this.
There's morning in America. Today, more than 60,000 Americans have died from a deadly virus Donald Trump ignored. With the economy in shambles, more than 26 million Americans are out of work, the worst economy in decades. Trump bailed out Wall Street, but not Main Street. This afternoon, millions of Americans will apply for unemployment, and with their savings run out, many are giving up hope. Millions worry that a loved one won't survive COVID-19. There's mourning in America, and under the leadership of Donald Trump, our country is weaker and sicker and poorer. And now, Americans are asking, if we have another 4 years like this, will there even be an America?
Paid for by the Lincoln Project, which is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Well, Scott, that ad ran in one market. Trump lost his mind, was tweeting, cussing them out, dogging them. Sounds like they hit their mark.
A hit dog will holler, as my grandmother used to say, and the dog is Trump and he's hollering. But the best line in that, and it's undeniable, that America, what did the ad say? We're weaker, we're poorer, and sicker because Donald Trump ignored this deadly disease for 70 days or more. This is undeniable. And you see that the people in line with masks on were black, white, yellow, and brown. And so Donald Trump wants to get the economy going and wants to tout how many tests we have. But he had a hand in, it feels like he had a hand in some of these deaths. It's not fair to give him, to blame him for all of it. The disease is deadly. But how many lives would be saved? How much safer would we be had he read the reports in the White House in January, in December? The testing and that chart that Kaylee put up, that's completely misleading. That's what you've done after the fact. Once the disease has dominated American lives and taken American lives and more than in the Vietnam, and that we have 1.2 million infections because we didn't act swiftly, that we ignored it for 70 days. You've got to look at the full story in evaluating this White House, and they get an F, not for their response, but they get an F for not responding for 70 days.
Every single night. We've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patel Salt, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, Senior Economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward, Dr. Oliver Brooks is President of the National Medical Association, President of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris, Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, Infectious Disease Specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, Executive Director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, Family Medicine Physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University. Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York. William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist. Andrea James, Executive Director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division Strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and Wellness Specialist Dr. Yolanda Hancock. Desmond Meade, President of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriot with the group. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon McDougall, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi. Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Folks, in case you forgot, here's a look at what Donald Trump has been doing for the past 2 months.
We have it totally under control. It's one person coming in from China.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Our numbers are lower than just about anybody.
Yeah, no, I don't take responsibility at all.
People coming in from China, where this all started, it could have been stopped right where it came from, China. It came from China. It got out of control.
If you think about Governor Cuomo, we're building him 4 hospitals. He's supposed to be buying his own ventilators. We're going to help.
People like Governor Inslee, he should be doing more. He shouldn't be relying on the federal government. Governor Inslee, that's the state of Washington.
Don't call the woman in Michigan. All she does is she has no idea what's going on, and all she does is say, oh, it's the federal government's fault, and we've taken such great care of Michigan. We inherited, this administration inherited a broken system.
The original tests, the ones we inherited, Jim, as an example, they were broken, they were obsolete. And you remember we inherited a broken system. We inherited a broken system. WHO, that's the World Health Organization, they missed the call. World Health got it wrong. I mean, they got it very wrong. In many ways, they were wrong. I'm not happy with the World Health Organization.
The reality is that the WHO failed to adequately obtain, vet, and share information in a timely and transparent fashion. It would have been so easy to be truthful.
The coronavirus, you know that, right? Coronavirus.
And this is their new hoax.
And the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to 0.
Well, we now know those deaths are a lot higher. Press Secretary, of course, did the usual BS from the White House podium. Listen to this.
There were supposed to be 2.2 million deaths, and we're at a point where we're far lower than that, and it's thanks to the great work of the task force and to the leadership of President Trump.
Well, whose idea was it initially to wind it down?
Again, I'm not going further. The president has answered this 4 times today. John?
I just have a question.
There were supposed to be 2.2.
Going to wind down the coronavirus task force. Then, of course, got lots of criticism. And Donald Trump say, "Oh no, I didn't realize the panel was the task force was so popular. So we're going to keep it going." And then, of course, when McEnany was hit over her previous comments with regards to what she said about coronavirus, then what they usually do in this White House, they want to pivot to the media. Watch this.
Kayleigh, in a previous life, before you were press secretary, you worked for the campaign, and you made a comment, I believe, on Fox, in which you said President Trump will not allow the coronavirus to come to this country. Given what has happened since then, obviously, would you like to take that back?
Well, first, let me note, I was asked a question on Fox Business about...
So, again, this dancing that they're doing with these people, the dancing that they do is quite interesting, okay? how they play these games with words, how they play the world choice. Then, of course, McEnany comes back to her favorite one, how we're leading in testing.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to direct your attention to a very encouraging graph regarding test results. It'll be over my shoulder and hopefully on the screen for those of you watching on television. As this chart shows, the United States has to date completed 7.5 million coronavirus tests. It's an extraordinary number. And as you can see, the United States leads the world in testing. This graph is no accident. In fact, this graph is a testament to American innovation, including the work of the Trump administration. For example, the FDA has issued over 70 emergency use authorizations to expand testing capacity. To accelerate the development of therapeutics and vaccines, there are nearly 80 clinical trials ongoing.
Oh, 7 million tests, Lauren. And then later she talked about, no, it's silly that we should talk about testing everybody.
Right.
The death total increased 3,000 overnight. Folks,
right.
we're gonna, by Monday, we're going to exceed 80,000 people dead. But I love how all of a sudden they're trying to latch onto the initial model of it could be upwards of 2.2 million. Well, you know, it was 2.2 million, and we've only lost 70,000, so we've done a great job.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. My prediction for this entire thing is that in 181 days, Joe Biden will be elected president. This is one of the worst disasters in American history. I mean, I don't need to say it again, but I guess I should just say it because we're in a Trump segment. This president is deeply incompetent. He is obviously very dangerous. This is the guy that 2 weeks ago told everybody to inject Lysol, into themselves. And his level of incompetence is so dangerous and so deadly, it was bound to catch up to us, and it has caught up to us. Because he could not read an intel report and wanted to talk about vaping, there are 74,000 Americans who are dead that should not be. He could have prepared for this. He didn't. As we know, he closed the office that deals with pandemics that Barack Obama, of course, funded and touted and obviously had operational, because he's stupid. And now he's going to ramp things down because he thinks he can PR his way out of this, which you can't, because there are 74,000 people who are dead and counting. So now what he's going to try to do is try to pretend this isn't happening and get back into some sort of campaign mode, because that's how stupid he is. That's how morally bankrupt he is.
Joseph, Joseph, talk about moving the goalposts. The people at the Daily Show, they really did it best. Watch this.
Do it. You would have had 1 million people, 1.5 million people, maybe 2 million people dead. But we're going towards 50 or 60,000 people. It looks like we'll be at about a 60,000 mark. 60, maybe 65,000. 65,000 people. 70,000, 75, 80 or 90,000 people. 100,000. And I think we're going to beat that. If we could hold that down, as we're saying, to 100,000, so we have between 100 and 200,000. We all together have done a very good job.
Wow, Joseph, great job.
I mean, look, I come from the position that two things can be true at the same time. That we can talk about the fact that they were to call it missed opportunities is probably an embarrassment to missed opportunities for us to try to take steps to quell this global pandemic, this global disaster. Like I said, all the talking points are out there that, if the World Health Organization hadn't done this, or, yes, the World Health Organization went from telling us that we could not have person-to-person transmission to us in witnessing probably the worst pandemic in close to 100 years. So, I think overall, I think we're having the right conversation, perhaps the wrong way. We could talk about the fact that maybe the president didn't tell people to inject Lysol, but he should have some level of awareness that as the leader of the free world, in a world where children will, swallow Tide Pods.
Again, looks like
even if there might be some reality. So, I think ultimately, again, we just need to talk about how do we keep people safe. We are crushing the curve a little bit here in New York, but we see spikes in places like New Orleans. We see spikes in places like, places like Washington, D.C. So those are the type of issues that I think we should be talking about right now moving forward.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And an ad posted on social media reminds us who we're dealing with in the Oval Office right now.
It's midnight in Washington. The lights are finally going out in the Capitol after a long day in the impeachment trial of Donald J. Trump. You can't trust this president to do the right thing, not for 1 minute, not for one election, not for the sake of our country. You just can't.
Bing, bing, bong, bong.
He will not change, and you know it. History will not be kind to Donald Trump. I think we all know that, not because it will be written by never-Trumpers, but because whenever we have departed from the values of our nation, we have come to regret it, and that regret is written all over the pages of our history. If you find that the House has proved its case and still vote to acquit, your name will be tied to his with a cord of steel and for all of history. He has betrayed our national security. He has compromised our elections, and he will do so again. You will not change him. You cannot constrain him. Truth matters little to him. What's right matters even less, and decency matters not at all. We have proven Donald Trump guilty. Now do impartial justice and convict him.
While we air that, well, Donald Trump is actually suing local TV stations for airing ads such as that because he doesn't want the people to actually see and know what he's actually done. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Vice President Joe Biden certainly has a message for Donald Trump. You can't fix the economy without fixing the public health crisis.
Early January, Donald Trump is first warned of the virus. He ignores it.
We have it totally under control. It's going to be just fine.
Defends the Chinese government instead. January 30th, Trump's own cabinet secretary warns of a pandemic, raising concerns that the Chinese government isn't being transparent. Trump calls him an alarmist.
We think we have it very well under control. We're working very closely with China and other countries, and we think it's going to have a very good ending for us.
The next day, the Dow plummets 600 points. Desperate to protect the stock market from sliding further, Trump continues to deny the threat and praise the Chinese government.
We're doing great in our country. China, I spoke with President Xi, and they're working very, very hard, and I think it's going to all work out fine. Looks like by April, you know, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away.
But global cases more than double, spreading to over 24 countries. February 25th, one of the CDC's top experts, Nancy Messonnier, speaks out, warning it could soon become a full-scale pandemic.
Disruption to everyday life may be severe, and I told my children that while I didn't think that they were at risk right now, we as a family need to be preparing for significant disruption of our lives.
Mr. Trump was, quote, furious as he watched the stock market crash after her comments. Trump didn't want to upset the markets. So for the last 5 days of February, the Trump administration took to the airwaves to deny the truth.
We have contained this, I won't say airtight, but pretty close to airtight.
Thanks to the president and this team's aggressive containment efforts, this disease, as Dr. Schuchat said, is contained.
February 27th, the market sees through the denials. The Dow continues to plunge, but Trump keeps up the false message.
It will go away. Just stay calm. It will go away. I think we're going to get through it very well.
April turns into May. The virus doesn't disappear. There is no miracle. The cases mount. The death toll grows. More than 33 million Americans lose their jobs to the pandemic.
Unemployment reaches Great Depression-era levels. Donald Trump doesn't understand. We have an economic crisis because we have a public health crisis. And we have a public health crisis because he refused to act. Donald Trump didn't build a great economy. His failure to lead destroyed one.
Wow, Amisha, bottom line is this here. You look at Trump's poll numbers, that ad directly correlates with what we're seeing in those numbers. This White House cannot act as if everything is all rosy. And so he better pay attention, which is why Jared Kushner's trying to bring in his own person. He's thinking about bringing Corey Lewandowski back. They realize there is a problem, and you can't look at anybody else but the mirror.
Absolutely. That ad was pure hot fire. It's going to be very difficult for President Trump to be able to win back the states that he consistently said over and over again he was responsible for building their economies. Those same states are the ones that have lost the most jobs during this COVID-19 pandemic. And no, people don't blame President Trump for the pandemic. They do blame him for his response. They blame him for not being ready. They blame him for ignoring all of the advice from not only medical professionals, but also from other nation state leaders who decided to act long before President Trump did. So the response here is the problem. And, you know, we're bleeding hundreds of thousands of jobs across states every single day that are not going to come back. And we don't have a president who has his head on straight, much less an understanding of how to bring those jobs back. To argue that he was a job creator was a falsity from jump. We know that the majority of new jobs came from the Investment and Recovery Act that President Obama pushed through. Beyond that, we're watching a president right now who refuses to not only take any type of responsibility for the disasters that he's created, but he continues to try to push the media to chase other things. We've seen him try it with his friends and people arguing that somebody's going to get exonerated here, there, and everywhere. We've seen him and his administration try to, you know, push several tales about Biden and Biden's son. At this point, we are at a crisis level. And what the American people want is to make sure that they have an economy that works for them, that they're able to pay their rent next month and the months after, that their kids are going to be safe. And they really want to know how do we get out of this depression era that we happen to be in right now? And I don't think anyone, blue or red state, actually trusts that this president is going to be someone who devises the plan to do it.
That particular ad, Malik, if you're a Republican, trust me, they have concerns. Democrats pick up 4 seats in the Senate. They take control of the United States Senate. They are seeing Trump is a drag on even their races. Even though we're talking about May, that's not the position you want to be in as we're heading into the summer, the fall. There's uncertainty when it comes to the economy, but also when it comes to public health.
What we've seen over the past, just number of just administrations is that presidents typically, as they're approaching re-election, they're not helpful down ballot. We saw that with Barack Obama, and the same thing that happened with George W. Bush. But, and you know, the ad was a little long. I don't know if it were meant for. So maybe it's meant for Facebook or something.
Yes, no, it's digital. First of all, it's not a 60-second ad. It was a 2-minute plus ad. It's meant right. for digital. It may be long, but the bottom line is it was a whole lot you got to put in there in order to get folks' attention. That also establishes the timeline. What in the hell Trump didn't do?
Well, sure, but we've talked about this on the show before. The experts that you all are talking about. These experts have actually responded to it. Some of the things that they are alleging in the ad, I mean, we can go back and forth, kind of knocking each one of them down from what the federal government was doing at the time, what Trump was saying at the time, what happened with the doctor at the immunization director or whatever. You know, there are plenty of things we can go back and just say, okay, well, those things actually weren't true. But as far as an ad is concerned, if you don't like Donald Trump or you're on the fence, this is something that could possibly sway you, but it's also something that we've just been debating publicly for a while now. Donald Trump, I think they've done a good thing as far as stopping the number of hearings and the format of the, I'm sorry, not the hearings, the press conferences. I think they actually did a good thing with that, because the communication was part of the problem. And that PR campaign that Donald Trump was on was something that ultimately didn't serve him well. So they seem to be correcting themselves. But I just, as I've said on this show many times before, you know, there's Donald Trump and then there's the federal government. Sure, we can blame Secretary Azar for what happened with HHS. We can blame the director of the CDC for what happened at the CDC. And that involves testing. That involves what we're talking about with contract tracing. That involves a whole host of things, even from equipment, you know, so the PPE equipment, all of that type of stuff we can actually talk about. And yes, Donald Trump, as the president of the United States, he's the boss. He's the ultimate one who's responsible for these things. But, you know, it seems as if, at least, especially if we're talking about the testing, that really, to me, and I've kind of looked at it, and I've decided to say, well, this kind of, to me, seems like more of a brownie. Mike Brown from George Bush's administration during the Katrina. I think he was the head of FEMA at that time, where it was like a good job brownie that George Bush said to him. It seems as if I still haven't been able to piece it together, but something happened, and it wasn't President Trump and what President Trump was out there saying. Something happened at the CDC, HHS, as far as these tests are concerned. I still haven't been able to figure that part out. Why were we so late as far as the testing? But that is an issue. And, you know, there have been concerns. There have been talks about whether Donald Trump was going to keep Secretary Azar and replace him with Dr. Birx, or, you know, there have been a lot of discussions about that, but Donald Trump says he's fine. But there definitely, as I've said and I've owned up to, sure, there have been things that the administration just hasn't done well, but I'm not one of those who's going to get on any for whether it's this administration or another administration and attack the federal government. And I think a lot of what we've been doing is just attacking the federal government.
No. What we've been doing is citing Kelly, what we're doing is citing exactly what is happening. The bottom line is, Melik, that's cute for you to try to divorce federal government from Trump. The reason, Kelly, the phrase "the buck stops here," remember, Kelly, remember, in the Republican National Convention that was in Cleveland, who stood up there and said, "Only I can fix this"? See, when you try to say, "I'm the man, I got this," but then when hell comes, that ain't me. Y'all, gone. That's CDC. That's them. Then he's constantly lying by saying, "Oh, we were left with no plan." The Obama people left a 69-page plan. Oh, the Obama people, it was their test. Fauci was asked that today. He said, "No, that's not true." See, and so here's what you can't do, Kelly. You can try to sit here and separate everybody to shield Trump. The buck stops at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Kelly.
My issue with Malik's argument, be that as it may, is the fact that, again, we cannot bifurcate Trump from the administration because it is Trump's administration. You want to blame the CDC? Okay, fine. Well, you appointed the person to be the head of the CDC, sir. You want to blame the health professionals or the Surgeon General or whatever. You appointed the Surgeon General. These are all people who report to you, and you hired them. So if they're not doing their job, that's on you. If the administration isn't doing what they're supposed to be doing, that's on you too. And it's very frustrating to me that we keep going back to this blame shifting and the scapegoating and, just trying to have Trump attenuate himself from everything. And I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Because like you said, when he got up at RNC, he said, "Only I can fix this." Every time he's on a podium, he's like, "I got this." Even when he's berating female journalists at the podium when they're trying to, use his words and try to get explanations out of what he's saying, he wants to be like, "Oh, that wasn't me." He's a liar. But not only is he a liar, he's a one-trick pony. And that's the real issue here. He, like any other one-trick pony, you have one trick. And his was entertainment and buffering and making sure that people were satisfied by way of a phrase or an event or, something flashy. Well, right now we're in the middle of a global pandemic. There's nothing flashy about over 80,000 people dead under your watch. There's nothing flashy at over 1 million people affected by something that you could have prevented back in January. There's nothing flashy about the fact that you really don't know anything, Mr. President. And yet here you are in a position when you're supposed to know and you don't, but you want to, act like you do and not garner the expertise of Dr. Fauci and others, and instead try to belittle them and berate them and undermine their authority and their expertise on something that they've been doing for over 30 years. Like with any president, you've only been in this for 4. Whether you're a bad president or not, you're supposed to defer to the experts. It's clear that he's not an expert, but narcissism says that he is. His mind says that he is. So he's going to keep doing this one-trick pony episode. And frankly, it's not going to work. It hasn't worked. And we're seeing beyond the veil of his facade. And that's really what's ticking him off. That's really what's ticking these Republicans off, because they thought that for 4 years, they would be able to have a one-trick pony in the office so they can get whatever they want undone. They weren't anticipating a global pandemic. Nobody was. But now they're stuck.
Well,
but at the end of the day, to your initial point, the administration is Trump's. You wanted this job, you got this job, do your job.
Real simple. The buck stops with you. Every single night. We've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he's the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardy, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward, Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris, Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon McDougall, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi, Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You getting the top medical experts, top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do.
We want to terminate health care under Obamacare because it's bad.
The House has already voted some 30 times to repeal or defund this law.
I and many of my colleagues did as we promised and voted to repeal.
We will and must repeal and replace Obamacare.
A Centers for Disease Control estimate predicts the daily coronavirus death toll in the United States might hit 3,000 by early June.
You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks at The Daily Show, they have put together some amazing videos. And so this is the video that they took comments that you hear on Fox News where they're always trashing Joe Biden or Barack Obama. And then they chose to apply it to Donald Trump. This, folks, is utterly delicious.
He doesn't have command of the subject matter.
And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute.
He can't string a coherent sentence together.
More than ever before, we've held our rate, the numbers, everything we've done.
Stumbles all over his sentences, starts rattling off.
They can do as they want. They can do what they have to do. They know what they have to do.
We've already seen how his mental faculties are declining.
But you know, they had a debate it was really a rough time in our country.
He's just not articulate enough to be the leader of the free world.
We want to win the war with as few, if you look at it, just deaths as possible.
Day after day, it's embarrassing to watch him.
We have, I call it the super duper missile.
He lies with ease.
Anybody that wants a test can get a test.
Some of his appearances lately have been just downright disturbing.
I happen to be taking it.
Hydroxychloroquine?
I'm taking it. Hydroxychloroquine.
This type of agitated behavior is part of an increasing, disturbing pattern.
Why don't you act in a little more positive? It's always trying to get you.
My question to you
is... Get you. You know you're a fake. Just a loudmouth. Maybe that's a question you should ask China.
And I feel bad for him. He's where a lot of us will be in late middle age, and it's sad.
A what? Oh, fuck. Uh-oh.
You know, he's old, he's creepy.
The professionals did the models. I was never involved in a model. But at least this kind of a model.
Just roll the tape, the creepy things that he's doing to people on camera.
We've seen how creepy he is with women.
I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women.
She even noted his handsy history of touching people.
I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
He's very creepy. Can't make this up.
And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab him by the pussy.
That is a great video, Erica.
Yeah, and kudos to the 53% and voter suppression for getting in someone who is all of those things in that montage video. I think that all of the things that we hear from out of right-wing media outlets, Fox News, is really just projection, right? They have a very specific audience that they cater to. It is an audience that despises and detests Black and brown people, especially Black and brown people that are in any position of leadership that do execute and show competence. And so I think that using their very own words against them is something that is definitely powerful and something that needs to be continually put into the forefront of people's mind as media continues to cover Trump and all of his ramblings ad nauseum, unfortunately.
Go right ahead, Reese.
Yeah, actually, though, I have to shout out Sarah Cooper because I think that she does a genius job practically every day spoofing Trump with lip syncing or wordsmith, whatever, however you want to call it, his words. But it's incredibly disturbing that Trump just has completely lost it. And just the fact, going back to the earlier video that you showed, that he says he's taking hydrochloroquine. And he says, what do you have to lose? As if this isn't a potentially deadly cure. If you don't have a disease that it's trying to cure, it's literally insane. And I think that we are just completely at his mercy when a person who has abdicated all of his responsibility to have a competent response to this. And unfortunately, the cruelty part of him is what's driving our policy. And it has very real consequences. As you said, Roland, we're over 90,000 deaths right now. The curve was supposed to be at 100,000 in August, and we're in May, and there is nothing that's being done to stop this from getting even worse. And that's what's really at stake here.
Every single night, we've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward, Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris, Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malvo, economist president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon Madugal, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi, Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Joe Biden not playing around when it comes to letting people know exactly how trifling Donald Trump has been when it comes to coronavirus. Check out this ad that Joe's campaign dropped this weekend.
He failed to act. So now Trump and his allies are launching negative attacks against Joe Biden to hide the truth. Here are the facts. Joe Biden warned the nation in January that Trump had left us unprepared for a pandemic. Then, Biden told Trump he should insist on having American health experts on the ground in China.
I would be on the phone with China and making it clear, we are going to need to be in your country. You have to be open. You have to be clear. We have to know what's going on.
But Trump rolled over for the Chinese. He took their word for it.
The president tweeted, China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency.
China, I spoke with President Xi, and they're working very hard, and I think it's going to all work out fine.
Trump praised the Chinese 15 times in January and February as the coronavirus spread across the world.
It's a tough situation. I think they're doing a very good job.
Are you concerned about its potential impact on the global economy?
I think that China will do a very good job.
Trump never got a CDC team on the ground in China. And the travel ban he brags about? Trump let in 40,000 travelers from China into America after he signed it. Not exactly airtight. Look around. 22 million Americans are out of work, and we have more officially reported cases and deaths than any other country. Donald Trump left this country unprepared and unprotected for the worst public health and economic crisis in our lifetime. And now we're paying the price. All the negative ads in the world can't change the truth.
Nearly 10,000 more Americans will die. 90,000 deaths and growing. Millions more will file for unemployment. Small businesses are dying. We're not testing enough. It's still spreading. Here's what else is coming this week. He will lie to you over and over. He will tweet instead of lead. He will blame others for his failures. Welcome to this week, and the next week, and the next, and the next, until you do something about it. The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Folks, today on Capitol Hill, there was testimony. Rick Bright testified regarding the folks not being prepared for this coronavirus and national testing. We're going to play some of that in just a second. Right now, though, I want to be joined by Dr. Georges Benjamin, Executive Director of the American Public Health Association. Dr. Benjamin, real quick here. Bottom line is this here.
I'm good. I got time for you.
These people are nuts, okay? General Russell Honore said, you cannot have a 50-state strategy. You've got to have a national testing strategy. Trump White House don't give it. They do not want any part of this. Governors, it's all on you.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You got to have a national strategy. You got to actually have a plan, and you got to stop winging it. And these folks are just winging it each and every day. And that's a problem. And it's gonna cost lives.
The thing is, what I don't understand is how I just would operate real quick. That is, a national strategy means, all right, I need to be able to look at the map and go, more tests goes over here, more over here. We don't need as much over here. Let's shift them over here. If you don't do that, you don't know what the hell is going on. You might have a whole bunch of tests sitting in a state. They don't even need them.
Absolutely. And in fact, we already know that has happened. We've had states that said, we can't find any tests. And we have other states that say we got lots of them. So it's already happened.
When you looked at the testimony today, what did you make of it? He did not hold back at all as he laid out the problems. I mean, they trust me, the Republicans were not happy that Rick Bright, this whistleblower, went before the House committee.
Well, he's a credible guy. You know, he's worked hard, he's smart. And, I think he's just laying out the problems that we've had. We have a dysfunctional system and a dysfunctional leadership process. And he just laid it out for him. And I hope people just don't blow it off and think that he's just a disgruntled employee. Even if you're mad, there's credibility in what you have to say. And we're seeing the results of that each and every day. So despite what people think about his testimony, he says what he thinks. And I bet when they pull back the onion skin, we're going to find about all that is true.
One of the things that also I think is critically important, still, people who are impacted. Michael Harriet with the Root had this amazing story today about how these black women in this place in town in West Virginia were getting no assistance, and they pretty much figured it out on their own. They are not even medical experts, but where they showed how all these black people in this one town were how they were impacted, got coronavirus at a church, basically learn how to do tracing on their own, and they saved folks in their community. And that's what people should not have to be resorting to that.
No. I mean, the understanding is out there. Look, we've been doing contact tracing since the early 19th century. So we understand this. There's no reason for people to have to reinvent the wheel and learn it on their own. And we need to get more of them. And look, if you want to get people back to work, we know that we need at least 100,000 contact tracers. So those are good jobs. So I don't know what they're doing.
It is confusing to all of us what they're doing, and so we're gonna stay on top of this, keep pushing, keep prodding. Please share. What should black organizations? What should black churches? What should we be doing since we're being left out here on our own by this clueless administration?
Well, I think the first thing you ought to do is band together and talk about what you can do to make sure you're all safe. I think you ought to be following the guidance that we already have, which is covering up your nose and mouth when you cough and sneeze, washing your hands, wearing a mask when you're out, but safely, because we know about this issue of masking while black. And as we begin to move back into work, do it very, very carefully. Very, very, very carefully. And that means that when you go back to work or school, we need to practice physical distancing from one another. We need to make sure that we protect one another and be respectful of one another, whether we're in the grocery store or we're on the bus, because too many of us are public facing in our jobs. And we've already seen, like everything else, this disease kills more people of color at a faster rate than it does with everybody else.
Indeed, Dr. Benjamin, we appreciate it. We're going to keep pushing this. And at the end of the day, we got to keep focusing on us, because if we don't focus on us, clearly nobody else will.
No, absolutely. And I know the NAACP is looking at this very carefully. And I would just encourage people, you can go to our website, the American Public Health Association, at apha.org. We have some information, but the Center for Disease Control and Prevention is still the nation's prevention agency. We can trust them, and they have some very important guidance on their website that tells us what to do. I would encourage people to go there and use it.
Dr. George Benjamin, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Roland, good to see you again.
All right, folks, here's some of the testimony today from Rick Bright.
That's a very difficult question to answer. I know that there are companies and academic labs working very hard. Normally it takes up to 10 years to make a vaccine. We've done it faster in emergency situations, but from when we had starting material in the freezer for Ebola. But for a novel virus, it's actually haven't been done yet that quickly. So a lot of optimism is swirling around a 12 to 18 month time frame. If everything goes perfectly, we've never seen everything go perfectly. My concern is if we rush too quickly and consider cutting out critical steps, we may not have a full assessment of the safety of that vaccine. So it's still going to take some time. I still think 12 to 18 months is an aggressive schedule, and I think it's going to take longer than that to do so.
12 to 18 months from now, or 12 to 18 months from when this all started at the beginning of the year?
It would be 12 to 18 months from when the particular manufacturers first received the material or information that they needed to start developing that vaccine. It's critical to note when we say 12 to 18 months, that doesn't mean for an FDA-approved vaccine. That means to have sufficient data and information on the safety and immunogenicity, if not efficacy, to be able to use on an emergency basis. And that is the consideration that we have in mind when we talk about an accelerated timeline.
Thank you.
Lord, Erica, the Republicans are not happy. He testified.
I'm so glad that he did, because this is another person that we see that was assigned to that was inside of a federal agency, that because he did not do the things and say what Trump felt like he needed to say, that he was in effect pushed out. And just so that the viewing audience knows, as he talks about, the first number that he talked about was 10 years, the 12 to 18 month period. That's not even FDA approved for the vaccine. That just as recently as today, Dr. Joseph Fair, who works for NBC as a contributor, was hospitalized with COVID. And he says that he believes the way that he contracted COVID, he was on a plane. He said that there was not real social distancing, that he traveled to New Orleans very recently, and that the plane was packed, that the guidance about the middle aisle being taken out, that was not followed, and that he believes that he contracted COVID through his eyes. His eyes weren't protected. Again, people need to understand that this is a novel virus, and that as Dr. Bright shared in his testimony, and other folks that you've had on this platform and in writings have talked about, it is going to take real significant time. We're talking about experts who have battled Ebola in foreign countries, who do have expertise in this area. And so though Republicans don't like it, it is good for the audience. It is good for the body politic to understand this, because the negligence of this particular regime has now led to 85,000 deaths, which makes the USA leading in deaths from the coronavirus today.
Reese.
Yeah, I mean, listening to Dr. Bright's testimony was alarming. I mean, he really basically kind of said that we're screwed, and that Donald Trump and his administration has completely abdicated their responsibility to have a competent response. And what they're banking on, and I'm editorializing here, this isn't what Dr. Bright said, but what they're banking on is that people are going to be more concerned about getting to the bars. We saw the bar in Houston that was packed. I've seen it at least on social media and other places, than they are about the very, very very quickly rising death toll. I think people still haven't it hasn't set into them that this virus is not any less dangerous than it was when this whole stay-at-home push started. It's not any less dangerous. It's not any less infectious. It's not any less deadly. We've made no advancements whatsoever in the treatment. We're not any closer to the vaccine. And I even saw a survey saying 25% or more people won't even take a vaccine once it's available. This is something that's going to fundamentally shift our way of life. And people are still going about it like business as normal. And that's where the Republicans are unfortunately winning the messaging war on it, because people would rather believe a fairy tale than believe that they're going to have to radically adjust the way that they go about their daily life.
Greg.
Roland, this is a critical point you're raising now. The country, of course, is aware of Dr. Bright's testimony today. The Republicans ran out of questioners. Every Republican questioner sounded like the complete idiot they are, defending themselves by attacking everybody from Barack Obama to imaginary creatures or whatever else they could come up with. So it's a critical point for that point, of course. And as we've heard, Erica walk through it, and then Reese, this the importance of dealing with the fact that the federal political apparatus simply doesn't exist. In this venue, as we tie that to the story that you evoked, our brother Mike Harriet over at The Root, when he started talking about Ramelia Hodges and the other three sisters who kind of came together in West Virginia to stand in the face of this, you've now grasped something that our people need to pay strict attention to, this question of contact tracing. And so when these sisters in West Virginia, Hodges, Danielle Walker, who's a delegate in the House of Delegates of West Virginia, Tiffany Samuels and Terry Berkeley got together, they forced the hand of Joe Manchin, the senator in West Virginia, of course, who then offers resources to get people tested. But then West Virginia stopped gathering data by race, because now it's going to be an embarrassment. They had already shut down one of the only hospitals in the area that would serve Black people in that area of the state. But I'm raising this for this very specific reason. We're here in the D.C. area. I'm on something called the Black Coalition Against COVID. A bunch of D.C. folks are getting together trying to help our people understand that contact tracing is coming. You got to let people know who you've been in contact with. Those people they're not going to share the information with other people. Our people have right reason to be paranoid about the government and ask you questions about where you've been. But at this juncture, the federal government is broken. The state governments are battling back. We saw what happened in Wisconsin today, for example, where the Supreme Court overruled the governor in another show of naked partisanship, including that judge who lost his election last month. And they say, open up the state. That's going to put you at risk, black people. So I was on a call yesterday with educators from around the country, Miami, Milwaukee, other places, Baltimore, and they were saying that our people are facing sickness and death, as we know, in an unprecedented manner. But this contact tracing issue is real. And so when you see what happened in West Virginia, even as Dr. Bright is saying this thing is going to get worse, and Donald Trump continues to turn his head to try to have campaign rallies like at this factory today when he's over there playing around with testing equipment, our people need to understand that it doesn't take money to ask questions. So the churches, the Masonic organizations, as you always say, the fraternities and sororities, it's time for us now to get real about identifying who is sick, getting them resources, helping sequester them if we can, because until we put pressure on people to get more resources, we are going to be the ones that die. And contact tracing, this issue you're raising today, contact tracing is something we should be talking about every day.
Every single night. We've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honore, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders. John Hope Bryant, he is the founder of Operation Hope. Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Sadrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach, Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patel Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward. Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. Joby Benjamin, Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist, Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association, Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle, Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York, William Spriggs, AFL-CIO economist, Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolanda Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. Lamina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, economist, president, Emerita at Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is a mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark. Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr. Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon Madugal, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi, Mario King. We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You're getting the top medical experts, the top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.